A transition has happened. Do you feel it? I feel it all over the social medias. My social media feed used to be semi-intellectual conversations about the greater macro environment and which cryptocurrencies have the best protocol that will pave the way into the future, to now just, hey, I like this. It's got a funny picture. Look at the price go up. And I'd say it was 2020 vibes, but the most parabolic thing happening in the markets right now isn't a crypto. SMCI is being added to the SMCI index, and this is huge. In the Discord, I've been talking about this for a while. I currently have a position around $720. I even included it on the webinar that you're seeing right now, which was part of the PowerPoint that I did over Zoom. Shout out to everyone that showed up to that. I had some mostly good feedback, but I had some people saying that they were expecting it to be a little more in depth. So, hey, might have another one coming up. Make sure you follow me on the socials so you know when that happens. And as you can tell by the after hour movements on Friday, people absolutely loved the news. A bunch of FOMO buying came in. I expect more to pile in this week. Remember, something like an addition to an index is pretty much a guaranteed bullish move, as there will be plenty of inflows into the stock once upon addition. And I also think that this stock is just ripe for a stock split as well. So I would expect something like a 4-to-1 or to play out. So you receive 4 shares for every share that you own. And I mean, the fundamentals here on this stock are still really good. It's expensive, yes, but in this environment, it's really not that expensive. You'll hear lots of people create the analogy that in the dot-com bubble, this is even more expensive than back then. Go watch my AI video that I put out 2 weeks ago and just put those fears to rest, because this is not the same. So when we're looking at the Fib extensions, there's that 1300 mark that I'm looking for in the short term, and then maybe a pullback after some profit taking post addition to the index. And then I would expect another rally into a potential stock split, at which point I would look for that target that I included in that PowerPoint, which is around 1700 for the stock. Now, here's the thing that no one is talking about when it comes to SMCI, though, and that is the effect it's had on the IWM, okay? It's an index over 2,000 stocks, and this stock's rally has carried it to a multi-year breakout, okay? We've had this long period of consolidation. It's just now fired to the upside, but it's getting removed from the index, okay? This stock is like the 6th grader who matured way before everyone else. It's just slam dunking on everyone, but now it's getting removed off the team, and it's gonna go play with the varsity high schoolers, all right? So now that we've lost our number 1 player, you need to start thinking about how this is going to affect this index. And I wouldn't be surprised if, one, this could be used as a pseudo play leading up to the removal, but then we get a back test of the breakout before we have a confirmation or a denial of that. But just be aware that this will affect this index. Now, before I talk about some of the other plays that we'll be looking at this week, let's also make sure we're aware of the news that's going to be coming out, because we actually have Jerome Powell testimony both on Wednesday and Thursday. I don't expect anything big from this, and in fact, what I think is going to be really important is going to be the CPI on the 12th. I think this will be a huge indicator of what we are likely to hear when we actually get our interest rate decision later in the month, and then actually hear from Powell in the press conference, where I do expect him to basically reflect whatever information we get from that CPI, as well as some economic data commentary. So I mean, just overall, make sure that this month, those are definitely on your radar, because if there's anything that's going to throw this market off, it's going to be that. So now let's get into some of the other plays. And I've been doing a little project, okay? I've been catching up in the world of biotechnology and pharmaceuticals. I've been holding the same companies within biotechnology for a while now. We've had some great returns. I think it's time to do some catch up, to figure out what's going on. The first thing that I wanted to look into that I've been researching this past week is what's going on in the world of weight loss. As many of you know, I created some shorts about it. We've talked about it in the past. We've had a podcast about it as well with Jonah Elliott, who's very popular across the social media. He's a great guy. I love him. Is Ozempic. NVO is a company that created this product. It's, blew up the market, right? It caused airline stocks to go up. It caused Hershey stock to go down. It's going to solve all the world's problems. There will be no obesity ever again. Take that as you will, obviously, right? I did a bunch of short content about this. I think there's issues with insurance. I think this might be a rich person drug, but I don't want to make this whole video about that. I want to talk about what's going on within the marketplace of these types of drugs, right? LLY is another company that creates these drugs. As you can see, it's just so excited. The market loves these, but not a lot of people are talking about the recent approval that we had from Viking Therapeutics, which also has created a competitor to Ozempic. Now, this has had a minor jump after the approval, and we're seeing that there's a lot of excitement. We saw some shorts get squeezed as well, and I think it's important to note here that these jumps that we get on these approvals from these stocks, take Novo for instance, you have these huge jumps where people say it's overvalued, small pullbacks, and then these things just continue to pump up and up and up and up. I think this is going to be very interesting for Viking Therapeutics. I think they have a solid product. I think it should have garnished the excitement it did, and I would be watching this for further upside as well. Now the option contracts here, after a little bit of a chop, should start to level out as well. Some premiums should get burned out, and then should create some interesting opportunities for the upside. If you're not wanting to play that, I think this is a decent share position, and I'm likely to do some buying this week. And I said it's just a rich person drug, not for the general public, but at least losing some weight, maybe fixing some bad habits will help you get laid, unlike the product made by the next company we're going to talk about. There's something very interesting happening with Apple right now. And it seems to me like Meta is the new Apple. Meta is the new cash cow, the stock that everyone must own with its new dividend, whereas Apple just keeps getting sold. And we actually see here on the TTM squeeze, we're starting to melt back down to the downside, while a lot of the market it looks very bullish. The S&P is climbing to new highs, but Apple isn't leading the way like it used to. I'd be really very worried about this stock if it breaks below 175. I think you're going to see a lot of blood come in. We can see that we're below a lot of major moving averages as well for the stock. And it just seems like this company no longer leads the way in innovation. Instead, Meta does, or other companies that have actually come out with their AI, even Google, who completely, fumbled the ball. But I think this is posing to be a huge issue that Apple needs to resolve, they need to address. We'll see if they play their old card trick where they are late to the party but are the best in the game. They didn't do it with the Apple Vision Pro, and the stock is definitely telling you that. So we're going to need to see how that looks. That will create some upside risk, though, as if they can pull it off. This stock is pretty cheap right now, not quite as cheap as Google. Now, the rumor is that Google is making the changes they need to make to get that AI to a point where it can, be actually factual and not just absurdly biased to the point where it can't get simple things correct, such as, is George Washington white? But this has yet to be clarified. Now, I will say that, of course, AI isn't the only thing these companies do, and they are large businesses that have multiple branches in different sectors. Google still has 18% year-over-year growth, but we have seen that they did miss when it came to ad revenue for Google search, which is the biggest portion of that company. Keep that in mind, okay? And we know that AI is also going to be the biggest competitor to Google search. If they can't get their AI right, that does put that business at risk, which is the largest sector of the business. But they are so big that this won't be a quick overnight death. This will be a slow death of a giant. And remember, your risk on shorting this is that they have those improvements. And because of that, I would be short term in entering these positions, right? Because if they manage to correct these things, the market's going to love that. It's going to buy these up in a very greedy way, okay? Because they are relatively historically cheap. And look, I got a lot of pushback on the different short content I put out about Google, and I hear you, but I just gotta say, for this we have to get political, because this company, if I was on the board, I'd be firing the CEO, and I would just go down the line and just start dropping heads like, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. So the clip of Elon when he's firing everyone at Twitter, that's what Google needs right now. And a lot of you will disagree with me, and that's fine, that's okay. But when I think about what's going on in this company, the fact that the AI came out the way it did, that's because they thought it was good. That's because no one had the confidence to stand up and be like, maybe this is problematic, because they didn't want to lose their job. That type of environment where people are being suppressed, or they feel like they can't have a voice, that's not a healthy environment for innovation. And some of you disagree with that, and that's completely okay. I love you anyways. We can still be friends. We're here to make money, right? I don't care what you think, as long as you make money. At the end of the day, I'm just a greedy capitalist. That's why I spend hours a week creating free videos. What am I doing? Anyways, let's talk about Tesla. We're firing to the upside on the TTM squeeze. This looks extremely bullish. If we look at our 15-minute here, we can see that we're in a tight range of consolidation. This usually creates an environment where contracts are very cheap. So look for a breakout here, whether it's to the upside or the downside. You're likely going to get a big move. We do see this longer trend on the 4-hour also developing, where we are getting higher higher lows coming in for the my brain just broke on that one for whatever reason. We can see that the daily trend is also positive as well. We could chop a little bit longer this week, but I'll keep keeping an eye on this, because when it moves, it's going to move. And that's going to be it for the weekly report. I'll talk to you in the Discord.